Hi, I'm Max Temkin, one of the co-creators of Cards Against Humanity, and this is Tabletop Deathmatch, a competition to find the next great tabletop game. Last year, over 500 people submitted their unpublished games to a panel of expert judges. 16 finalists came to Gen Con to pitch their games in person, and one of those games will win a first printing paid for by Cards Against Humanity and be named the champion of Tabletop Deathmatch.
My name is Lowell Francis, and I designed Rite of Succession. I play a lot of games, board games, RPGs. I had seen a video game that gave me an idea, and then I kind of ran with it. My sister taught me how to play D&D back in '75 when I was 6 years old. She got a white box edition, and then she was active in the local game scene, and she ended up sort of teaching me more board games, and I've stuck with it ever since. I had the luck to marry a woman who loves games as much as I do, and so we play RPGs all the time and just absolutely adore it. For a number of years I was taught writing, and then I was an acquisitions editor in an academic press, and then there came a point at which we actually had a house fire and lost a lot of gaming stuff and so on, and after that I kind of said, okay, I need to do something freelance with my life, and did some stuff, and I actually wrote some comic books. I did a story for Mouse Guard, and I did 3 issues for DC when they had the Flashpoint project a few years ago. But other than that, because my wife loves role-playing, I pretty much am running 5 or 6 campaigns at a time, a couple of them online. My wife and I just enjoy that. We don't have kids, we have cats, we just play games.
All right, thank you so much for coming to show us Rite of Succession. Tell us about the game.
So Rite of Succession is, I would say, if we have to describe it in the terms people are using, Ameritrash Euro, is probably more a Euro game than anything else. What it is that the players are playing households that are trying to gain influence as the generations of the royals move along. And people have a display here in front of them, and so this represents their household. See, they have 5 spaces. On any particular household, they have branches of the family. There's a card that represents that. And then upon that, we have tokens that represent the key figures. And the key figures are broken into 6 areas. We've got finances, which is the money making. And then we've got society, activism, religion, knowledge, and warfare. We have actions that can occur during a turn, and those can be based on the tiles that you have there. So if you have a religious tile in your display, you have access to the religious action. If you have a society tile in your display, you have access to the society action. Those are very different actions that can generate points and can affect the board. So we go through a turn, we take our actions, and at the end of the turn, the other main scoring point is we look here at the royals that are up here. In this first generation line, we can see that we have 3 people. We have the real power, and on this card here we see we have religion, activism, warfare, which represents the different areas, and you can see then that there's a next generation below that. What's going to happen is every 2 turns, this generation is actually going to move up and replace the previous one. And what that does is throughout the course of the game, as you're trying to essentially do sort of kind of area control, that moving target is occurring from turn to turn. That's also going to shape the kind of game that you get. The game is going to be very different depending on what royals appear in the start of the game. So here we can look and we can see that warfare appears a couple of places, society in a couple of places. It's kind of a mixed game. But down here on the second row, we see that warfare for turns 3 and 4 for the scoring are going to appear highly, so people are going to be investing in that. The other major thing that I think is an important sort of detail in the game is that there are pressures in terms of choices of building your display. So we can see here that we've got 5 spaces. Each turn you're adding a new family branch through a bidding system onto your display, and at a certain point it's going to get packed up. You're going to have to make room, and you do that through marriage. So to show you an example here, let's say we're going to marry these 2 families together, size 1 and a size 2. I have to keep 1 tile because it's essentially half the tiles that are there rounded down. So let's say right now I need money. I'm going to keep the finance tile. I would put that off to the side. These ones would go over here. I would take these size 1 and size 2. I would draw a size 3 family, put that there, and then I draw from the bag to fill that out, essentially representing the shifting of the tides over time. The game works with those generational maneuvers. Essentially every 2 turns, there's a shift in terms of what people are aiming for. At the midpoint of the game, we go from size 1 families to size 2. so it creates kind of a second act to the game. And then at the end of the game, besides the sort of final scoring, there's also scoring based on sets. So that actually changes once you get into turns 7 and 8. People are doing the standard shifting, but they're also looking at a whole new set of activities there, and that creates a very different sort of climax to the game. I think my favorite game is Fury of Dracula, which is kind of an RPG style game. I think what people would call that kind of an Ameritrash game, because it has all sorts of random elements to it. But I like a good Euro game more than anything else. You know, a game that has a kind of a brilliant mechanic that plays through it, that's clean and clear, where there's interaction with the other players, but there isn't elimination or real aggressiveness or hurt feelings.
Thank you so much for showing us the game. Definitely my first question would be, can you talk us through a player's turn, just a single turn, what they would do?
Absolutely. So each individual turn is going to start, everybody's going to take income at the same time, and then what's going to happen is there'll be a set of family cards put out. Turns 1 through 4, it's a size 1 family. Turns through 5 through 8, it's a size 2. And then there'll also be a set of those counters put out. They're essentially persons. People will put bid to have first pick or second pick. They'll get first pick of either a card, a branch, or a tile. And then we'll go in the same order and do a second pick. So let's say you pick a card on the first one, you pick a tile on the second one. After that, people have the opportunity from their cash to put money in turn order out on the royals, because whoever has the most money on them at the end of the turn, when you choose sort of succession, will be the person who moves into that victory point range. Once we've done that, then everybody gets 2 actions. Essentially, we take 1 action, go around clockwise from the starting player, and then everybody takes a second action. After that, we look and see on the royals who has the most money. They're the person that moves up, and they're how we're scoring the victory.
I'm kind of wondering if you kind of have to know everything about the game before you can start playing the game, like all the things that could happen to you.
We've certainly played it, and I haven't seen that happen. I will say that it's a game where about the first turn, second turn, I see people eyes open, and you can kind of do that play around in the first couple of turns, so you can set up without it kind of, okay, I screwed up in the first or second turn, now I'm dead. So there is a little bit of a learning curve with the different powers, but they're pretty basic in what they do.
Sheer curiosity. Sure. Are you familiar with Blood Royale?
Yes, yes. And in fact, I played it back in the early 80s, and I love the idea of the dynasties. And that's why I wanted to do something that was actually fun and didn't take 5 hours.
So for the uninitiated, it's an old GW game. It is one of the best, worst games you will ever play. And that's what this reminded me of.
This is sort of built out of my love for Blood Royale and a video game that I played that had a very odd mechanic that I stole. So
what was the video game and the mechanic?
Shin Megami Tensei.
That is a big leap.
Has demon fusions, where you fuse 2 demons together and get the different powers. So that's how I came up with the marriage mechanic.
That is a giant leap to make.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I just want to touch back on this game in particular. Could you tell me a little bit about the gold economy in the game? It seems like money is a strong strategy based on my cursory glance.
Yeah. Money doesn't score you points directly. If you look at the royals, they only score on essentially the 5 sort of action tiles. There's no royal that scores based on money. So money becomes the engine that's driving things.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Final scoring says greatest amount of gold still in hand gains 8 victory points.
There are 3 bonus endgame scores. Most money, having 1 of each color as a set, and then having 1, 2, 3 in a particular color.
I see, so that's endgame scoring and you're scoring turn per turn.
Yeah.
What sort of playtesting process have you undergone with this? Have you done a lot of blind playtesting?
No, absolutely not. I have to be perfectly honest about it. What I've done is I've played this pretty much with our Tuesday group for the last 3 years. What we have done is taken it to various game groups that we've played with, and so I'd say I've had about 3 dozen people. Now, mind you, that's with me at the table teaching the rules and stuff. And we've talked about doing blind testing as well. I think it's in a state where we could easily do that.
There's some goals that give you points in this game.
The end game goals?
Yeah, which is like you want to get a set, you want to get a run of numbers and things like that. Like, I don't see the connection between colors and numbers in this game and the story aspect.
Thematically, what I've always pictured is that you're a noble house rising up, the monarchy is decaying, And so there are these different people who have influence. Essentially, it is your noble house that moves in to take command. You're trying to show that you have essentially ability and influence great people in your household across all of the different abilities.
What would you say is the typical playtime for this game?
With new players, if you've got new people who play, you're teaching, it's probably 120 minutes, probably about 2 hours. I would say with people who played once or twice, we play 90 minutes. If you played it a lot, we get it down to 75.
Thank you again for bringing the game. Great presentation, really nice looking prototype. Thank you very much.
I don't know what it is. I've managed to create a game that kind of hits the sweet spot for me, and we've been playing it pretty solidly every Tuesday for the last 3 or 4 years. And I don't know, I'm just not tired of it. I ought to be, by all rights, I ought to hate this game with a white-hot burning passion. But I still enjoy playing it. It's got just enough randomness that when I lose, I can say, well, it was luck that killed me on that one. But enough strategy that when I win, I can go, well, I'm a very clever person.
All right, judges, come on up and take a look at the game. What did everyone think? I really like this. I actually really like this a lot, and I think it's very smart and considered, and everything here has a purpose.
I have giant hearts for this game.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. I mean, Luke asked the question I was going to ask, right? I mean, which is like, oh my God, it's Blood Royale, but like it's not 8 hours long.
Right. Anyone who takes a shot at fixing Blood Royale gets gets a bloopy heart.
I had the same reaction. I mean, I like it. I like it a lot. There are some elements I've seen before, which is fine, and there's some elements I haven't seen before, which is great. There's some elements that don't seem like they're in the game for any particular reason other than that's how the game is played.
Like what?
Like I was talking about, like the run collecting, right, is like...
I mean, maybe it just comes down to if you buy his explanation or not, but I mean, I think his first attempt at explaining it was, well, your family is known for producing a lot of different people in a lot of different fields.
The set collecting, he got the set collecting, right,
yeah,
which is the one of each color, you know. But I was like, okay, but why do I need lower ranking? Why do I need a lower ranking family and a middle family? And you know, it's like, it's. I think it's real close.
That doesn't bother me because that's almost like a historical, like, well, you used to be, you know, you've come up through the ranks.
Sure,
sure. I mean, there are explanations for that. That doesn't bother me.
These are not high criticism.
I would like one thing that would tie it thematically with the rest of the game. If there was a way to sort of explain why you have these like clocks, basically. I think that would be kind of neat.
I think there's a time.
But there is a pasture time element in the game. I agree. If there was like the Tower of London style or Big Ben style like graphic or something, the game might help tie it together.
I know for some of the other games, this is mostly for Mike and Rodney and Paul. You guys were very skeptical of bidding mechanics because I know that's something that could go wrong really quickly.
Yeah,
it's a dangerous thing.
Right, and there's a lot of good ways to do them, a lot of bad ways to do them, and they have to be correct for the game. Right? Yeah. So that's all.
This is obviously a very crunchy Euro-style game, and that's right up my alley, these 120-minute. It's not exactly going to be a widespread seller, though, because you kind of have to already be you've self-selected into that area. The big trick is with like bidding mechanics and stuff like that. In a game like this, I'm gonna have to play it to know if they got it right, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. This is a pretty crunchy game. I'm not 100% sure I completely know how this game plays right now. Right, like it could play very differently from what I have in my head.
Yeah, in my head I have all the mechanics, but I have no idea whether, you know, how much money you're going to have to get so that you can bid, so that you can get more money, so that you like that.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing to be.
No, that's
I'm not sure.
Did you guys look at the last page of the rules selection? There's a strategy notes at the end, which just
in a
huge props for that.
Playtest document. That's nice. I love the moving target. Just the statement that you're aiming for a moving target in a game like this, because one of the problems of games like this is we're all focused on exactly the same thing for the entire game, and the game is 120 minutes. Right? And if it keeps moving, it's like, okay, did what I do before anticipate what's coming next? I was a little worried in my question that you have to know everything about this game before you can actually play the game.
So there are a lot of pieces in this game. This looks like wood with a piece of paper.
Well, it would be punched like cardboard.
Yeah, I think a chipboard dial. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do dials. You can mount it on something, and but I think you guys like the feel of it in your hands, so that's kind of a neat thing. This is not that hard to do, but there are a lot of components. He's got all the little chipboard pieces. He's got the bag. He's got the money. But even with all the pieces, it's not undoable. I think we could do it in budget.
Yeah, it's a little bitsy, but I've seen worse.
Yeah.
Retail folks, do you guys have any concerns?
There's a very unfortunate retail problem with this game, and that's that Rite of Succession by Uwe Rosenberg sells, Rite of Succession by Stefan Feld sells. I'm not sure Rite of Succession by Lowell Francis sells, because Eurogamers love who's in vogue in Eurogames, and it's hard to break in with a dry Euro with a drier theme like this.
It's an interesting problem.
All right, well, I think we've got to move on to the next game, but definitely this is another one I would just love to have time to play and see how it works.
I had seen on the site that the announcement day was the 15th, so when that came and went, I went, okay, I didn't get in it. But it was that next Monday that I got the email, and I kind of freaked out, and I was supposed to run that evening, but I couldn't because I was shaking. I actually had to cancel the game I was going to run. I was kind of freaking out. As much as anything, it's the opportunity to go and show a game I really love to a bunch of new people, and that's what I was excited about.